Well, hello, everyone. Today is Wednesday, April 14th. We're halfway through the month of April. I hope you are enjoying the beautiful transition from winter to spring that is Northern Virginia. The afternoon storms and the pollen notwithstanding, it is a beautiful time of year in this part of the country. So I hope you're having a great time. Let me touch base with you on a couple of things. One thing very specific. The other is just a little general update. We are meeting as a personnel team and a staff team with a potential candidate to be our interim worship leader and musician. That is in the works. I know many of you have wondered what's happening with that. First of all, I want to say thank you to those of you who have made our music aspect of our worship continue. You've done a lot of hard work. For those of you on the platform, we try to give you accolades in the moment. Thank you again. But for so many of you behind the scenes, the technology, whether it's church outside or church back in the box, as we sometimes say. So I want to say thank you, but we are in an immediate need as we continue to move beyond that long COVID-related pause in the search to move forward from Charlotte's retirement. That is really what we're looking for in the larger scheme of things. But now with Becky's pretty sudden departure, we have that immediate need now. And so we have an opportunity and we're in discussions and hope to have an interim situation in place for the immediate coming months. But one of the things that does, if you're unfamiliar with what that term means, that modifies the whole situation. That interim even though that individual is vetted and interviewed, it's not a full church decision because it's something that needs to happen immediately and very quickly. And we hope to see if this works out, this individual helping us out a little bit in the next few weeks. But it also has a back end. It's usually like a 6-month contractual or covenantal type of an arrangement. And that can certainly be renewed. And yes, that individual is certainly available for the longer term discussion as well, but it gives us a chance to address an immediate need in a very quick and fluid way. So we'll keep you posted, and hopefully maybe even by this time next week's midweek minutes, we might be able to introduce this individual to you and maybe see this person back on the platform in the next few weeks. Perhaps we'll have a pianist, we'll have somebody that's going to be able to work with us. So be praying for us in that endeavor. But I do want to touch base with you on something very specific. In this email, I want you to notice a few things. In the body of the email, you were given a date. That date is May 16th. That is a Sunday. We want you to be at church that Sunday. And again, as we regather, as we practice the protocols, we'll still be masked, most likely. We'll still be social distanced, most likely. And as that community immunity continues to build, we want to provide a safe place where you can feel comfortable regathering if you've yet to do that. But know on that day, we are going to have the first kind of live quarterly business meeting that we've been able to have in a while due to some of the protocols, not only for the distancing and the gathering, but the protocols for operating as nonprofit incorporated entity in the Commonwealth of Virginia. There's a whole nother set of loopholes we've had to balance and jump through over this pandemic period. And so although we have shared information with you, information has always been available. I admit we probably have not done as good a job as we should have just continually put that before you. It's always been available. We did a little bit more about a year or so ago as we got into this pandemic, but as it kind of just drug on and we got into kind of the mundane and the rut of it all, it was easy for some of those things to just be assumed that you knew that if you could reach out and ask this person or find out that financial statements, for example, they're available every month if you would like them. But what we want to do is now kind of look towards as we begin to phase out, this pandemic kind of protocols. We're still in them, and we'll still have to abide by them even in the middle of May. But as we look forward to moving into a post-pandemic kind of reality, getting back to that pace that we normally experienced. Even if we have to do it a little bit different and make some adjustments, we still need to do that. And so on May 16th, we'll have an information meeting. It'll be immediately following our morning service. We will be remaining in the sanctuary. And yes, for those of you who are yet to regather, I wanted you to consider regathering. We got another month for, again, that immunity to build and for, that sense of safety and peace for you regathering to actually come into play. We understand all of that, understand the reticence, and we want to accommodate you as best that we can. And so, yes, that meeting will be streamed. We're working through the details of how we can work through a communication in that, but that information will be made available to you in document form the week before. It'll be streamed, but we want you to be there. There's plenty of room in the sanctuary for our social distancing, even though we've hit worship capacity within that, the way it's laid out right now. We might be able to adjust that some, and maybe some of that capacity can even be expanded between now and then. So we'll accommodate you if you want to be there, and we're going to remain in the sanctuary and really have just a time of questions and answers. We'll have some reports. In a way, it'll be like inviting you into a board meeting, which, by the way, is always open to any church member, unless there's some kind of executive session type thing, in which we rarely have to do. And hopefully that board meeting would be a short one, because we want to share with you some information. I know many of you are just wondering, hey, what's happened financially? Where are we? What's going on? And then what's happening as we look forward to that post-pandemic, even as we phase out of it in a slow way. What are we looking forward to in the summer as far as kind of reinvigorating outreach and touching our community? How are we working through that? We want to share some of those ideas with you. We want to share with you information. But let me go ahead and give you some information that I know many of you are interested in having. It's always been available. Again, I apologize. Maybe we haven't just emphasized that enough and made it as easy for you to retrieve it. So attached to this email are two documents. They come from Chuck Martin. Chuck is our church treasurer. If you have any questions beyond what I'm going to say, you certainly can reach out to me at the church office if there was something that I confused or confused you. But you can reach out to Chuck. You can also reach out to Charlotte McComas, who is our finance committee chair, but these are documents from Chuck. He would be the first one probably to reach out to. Sorry about that, Chuck, but you knew that was part of the territory. I want to share with you those documents, not only by sending them to you, and I want you to encourage you, if you want to look at them now, you can. If you want to print them up, you can, and come back and join me. But I'm going to do something here in this Zoom recording format. I'm going to do a document share, and I want us to look at those documents together. And I'm not going to walk through line by line, but I just want to highlight a few things. And some of the highlights actually are mine, just kind of sharing with you pastorally some things, both from the last 12 months and what we're looking forward to in the days to come. So bear with me. The screen might glitch a little bit, but I'm going to do this screen sharing. And here we go. I think I'm going to go share. There we are. And we have the first document is the Fairfax Baptist Church income statement. This is receipts and expenses. These have been available. Probably the last time you've seen one, at least held one in your hand, perhaps, unless you've come by to pick one up or requested one, was the last time we sent something to you for the budget. And then maybe the last business meeting that you attended. You've gotten maybe a little familiar with the format, but I want you to follow my mouse a little bit. This is page one. It's about a 4-page document. You'll notice that where we are is the fiscal year 2021. The end of the third quarter was March 31st. We are just a day or two. There's a reflection of that as of the 4th. That was the 1st of April. That was the last couple of days of the full week, if you recall, and we're coming into Easter weekend. There's some bills paid and so forth, like that Thursday and Friday. So that might be reflected here, but truly the report is through March 31st, and that's what I want to highlight for you. Let me remind you of something, though. If you look at the fiscal year budget, this is what you find right here. If you can see my mouse moving there, it's the blue column over to the left, fiscal year 21. 1, which we only have one more quarter or about 2.5 months left of anyway. We looked at the anticipated receipts that we'd have in these categories. And one of them that was significantly underestimated by design was the rental of building. We kept it at $30,000 because when we had to present this budget to you, the school, which we had envisioned arriving in the fall of 2019, had been delayed, if you recall. We envisioned them arriving even a few months before this new current budget was enacted. But then we ran into COVID, and we didn't know what was going to happen with their ability to even operate, much less operate in our facility, and what that would do to both their timing and their financial resources to enter into the partnership that just a couple of weeks before we were singing and dancing about, if you recall, at the end of February. And so with that big question mark there, we kept it at $30,000. Now we know that the school came and there has been that financial benefit with their partnerships. I just want to highlight that the numbers, at least projection wise, may look a little skewed, a little off, because, and you'll see if you look through the quarters, we anticipated with that number of 30,000, the first quarter that kind of reflected that, but you can notice here just under 80,000 bucks or so. So we've certainly blown by that. So that kind of stays that way, but it's reflected in reality as you move out across the graph. Well, our total income, and that is through all of these resources, whether it's the rental partnership, memorial funds, anybody designating, anything like that, you see those numbers. It's $295,414.67. So just call it $295,400. That is what has been received. And you find that I put that highlight there. That is the, as of March 31st, that's the income that has come. Now, this highlighted piece here is the fact that we have a budget shortfall, and that is continuing to shrink. The numbers are coming together, and you can see that trajectory right there. We pretty much expect it to go away by the end of the year. But this is in relation to budget. This is about $26,000 less than what we need if we spent every penny we anticipated spending in every category up to this point. And so let me show you another very realistic number here. It's towards the end, in fact, it's the last page. We have received, if you recall, let me go back to that number one more time, $295,400. And we have spent total cash disbursements $193,200, which means we've received the first quarter. Remember that second quarter got cut in half. Now we've received $102,000 more than what we spent. Now that's from all expenditures and all resources. That's not just giving. We appreciate your giving. We ask you to continue to be faithful in that. It's very easy to kind of just fall into that rut, but you have stepped up to the plate for the last 12 months, and that's reflected in this. So as you look at this particular item, you can go through and look at the details, see what expenses were paid out. Feel free to do that, but we haven't spent what has come in. So related to budget, looks like a shortfall, and it is technically on paper. Related to the expenses and our obligations that we've been meeting, there is an extra that is there. Let me go to the next document, which is the statement of assets and liabilities. This is just your fund balances. Keeping in mind that number, our total checking and savings right now is $107,400. You have to take away from that certain things that's money in the bank and accounts that we can reach into. But even in those accounts that we can reach into, some of those things are specified or designated. And you see those listed in the next blocks. When you take those out of that figure, that leaves us with cash in the bank that we can use just for general purposes. I mean, some of this, we have a building repair, we've got a resource there. We can certainly tap into that, not tap into this figure. But we have 67. So you've got to take off nearly 40,000 from that amount that is available to us, just loose money in the checkbook. Well, you may wonder, wait a minute, I thought we were getting so much more in than what we were spending. I mean, you just showed us those numbers. And then why does it, as I look at this total cash available, why, I could see the big bump here, it was especially after the school got here. Why suddenly it's starting to drop? Well, let me explain to you a couple of things. One, go down to investments and unrestricted, and you will see right here the $25,000 CD. If you recall back pre-pandemic, when the school was delayed just because of the red tape, you noticed that we had to tap into some resources that were available. We had 2 CDs, each of 25,000. We brought those out of CD status, put them into our liquid account so that we could use that as a resource to do some things we had to do, both for the facility and otherwise, to get the school here, in light of the fact that they had been delayed. And it was our intent. We shared this with you as a church. You said, yes, do it this way. It was our commitment to you that as soon as we could, and then of course the pandemic hit and delayed it all the more. But as soon as we could, we decided to, we were going to repay and rebuild for savings purposes, those 2 CDs. Well, in the midst of the pandemic, with the school delay, with a reduced capacity that they've had, and therefore a reduced amount that they've paid to us, still, we have bitten the bullet and said, okay, we're going to take from our cash account and we're going to open up one of those CDs. So we've already refunded one of those CDs in whole, and we are well on our way to doing that again. And those are our first 2 priorities. Other than just making ends meet, but to do what we committed to do, to honor your request of us. Yes, tap into those funds, but pay them back once the school arrives. And even in light of the pandemic, even in light of reduced rental for them, just on a small way, we are doing that. And here's the evidence of that. That's one of the things I want to point out to you. We made that commitment. We're honoring that, and give us patience over the next few months. We will be able then to have 2 CDs. So we've taken it out of the checking account, out of cash, and we haven't lost it. We just moved it to another pocket with a zipper on it. And that's pretty much what we did. That's that Nextmark certificate of deposit. And then you also find another thing in there. I want to just point this to you. At the sale of the property, if you remember the 2 houses that were developed next door to us, when we sold the property, we took a significant amount of that. That's where the 2 CDs came from. And then we also had an investment fund, one that wasn't necessarily designated for any particular thing other than long-term future potentials. And that is just, we've called it the turtle fund. It moves really slow, but it moves in a significant way. And you can see that, the Apple Federal Credit Union Turtle Fund. Don't look for that on their website. That's what we call it. But there is an investment fund that is managed for us in a portfolio of mutual funds and companies that we feel good about investing in. And just for this fiscal year, it's gone from a little over 200. We began with, I think, 180 or so in there, maybe 189, somewhere in that ballpark. And it was up to 2. But if you've watched the stock market lately, we've benefited from that. It's gone from 203 to 237 just in these last 9 months. So we appreciate you doing all of that. That brings us to the rest of the report here that you can work through. And if you have any further questions, you can, I'm going to stop sharing here and say thank you so much. I just wanted to put that out there to you. And know that we appreciate, know that we are being the best stewards that we can of the resources that you entrust to us. Again, it's the financial report, just pointing out some things pastorally to you. Again, the technical stuff and to the pennies, reach out to Chuck or reach out to Charlotte. They'll be glad to walk you through that. This is a resource. If you got a big question about just the structure and the projection of our budget on a bigger picture way, know that we're going to have that question and answer, that information session coming up in about a month. And these numbers will be updated pretty much up to the week prior. So keep that in mind. You'll be receiving that. Well, I threw a lot at you today. Thank you so much for being with us. And let me take this time. Again, I hope I haven't muddied the waters, and you can always rewind and listen to it again, print that up, and just follow along a second time. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Have a great day. We look forward to seeing you this Sunday, whether you tune in the sanctuary or tune in online. We'll see you Sunday at 11. Thank you for letting us be stewards with you as we work together for God's kingdom. Sorry that we haven't put this out in this detail, made it available for you. We certainly will for the months to come, even in light of the pandemic. Call us if you have any questions. Thanks for your faithfulness.